Hi, friends. We're giving you an extra episode this week. I'm bringing back one from last year with a couple of my clients to talk to you about the consult process, what it looks like, why they signed up, and why they are so glad that they did. The reason I'm dropping this is because we are opening up Consult Week. I'm finalizing my roster for the year, and I want to open up as many spots as I can for people to have conversations with me so I can help you during that consult with any problem that you have. And then afterwards, we can decide if one of the spots are right for you. So listen in, and you'll get to hear a little behind the scenes on what actually happens in these consults and why people book them. Enjoy. Welcome back to the 5% Club. I'm Shayla King, a former C-suite executive turned business and life coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. Each week, I'm going to teach you from my performance and happiness formula what it takes to rise to the top without burnout and overwhelm. Work less, make more, and design a life you love. That's what we do in the 5% Club. Let's go. Ellie, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So today we are going to talk about the consult process because Consult Week is coming up. So you are now a client of mine. We've been together for, I think, 7 months now.
Yeah.
Can you remember back to when you first scheduled your consult? Tell us a little bit about who you are and where you were at that point in your life.
Right. So when I had booked the consult, I had confided in one of my friends about how I was in a really tough spot. So I really liked my job, but I had a conversation where I was basically told that there really wasn't a lot of upward mobility for me, which is really hard as someone who is um I consider myself an overachiever, right? So to be told there's nowhere else for you to achieve here, and right where you're at is where you're going to be for the foreseeable future was super frustrating and really disheartening. And it was also around the time of performance reviews, and I wasn't happy with the review that I'd gotten. Not that I hadn't accomplished all of my metrics and my goals, but the compensation that came with that was, your standard 3%.
Mhm.
And I was told that I should be grateful for that 3% because most people didn't even get that at my organization.
Okay, let's talk about
And
that for a second because
yeah,
I think people hear that a lot. It's like I'm an overachiever and I'm getting mediocre results or my feedback is, hey, I'm doing everything right. But when it actually comes to my comp or getting promoted, it just feels like I'm maxed out. So how does it feel when you're told you should feel grateful?
um, I think that's where the imposter mindset kind of triggered in me.
Mm.
And I took that personally. Even and what we had talked about during my consult is that wasn't personal at all. And that I can be grateful for the organization and the opportunities that came with it. And I want more and I deserve
Yes.
more and I can expect more.
I love that. And that is one of our key sayings with all of my clients. I'm grateful and I want more because that
Yeah.
ambition was put inside of us for a reason. And so much of the world tells us to calm down. You have a really good life. Why can't you just be satisfied? Right.
Yeah.
But we know that there's something else. And we want to be in an organization that rewards us for that extra effort, that rewards us for delivering more value than the average bear. Right.
Yeah.
And so you were unsettled around that. We talk about the human action model and people, reach out because they're uncomfortable with something. But what I think is part of the fallacy is that sometimes people think people get coached that are broken, right? And so they think that something's really wrong and really painful, and that's why. And for a lot of my clients, I always say I coach winners, and it's people that are already really excelling in areas of their life, but they want more. So can you talk to me a little bit about that feeling of, I my life wasn't a disaster. I had a good paying job. I was, you had just gotten married when we met, but
Yeah.
that itch for more and how that alone was your discomfort.
Yeah. Um, and we've talked about this a lot through working together, but um, I just had this unsettling, this feeling of like this can't be the end, right? I can't sit here and be content with this for the rest of my life. I mean, I could, right? I could find happiness in the simpler things, and we work on that too, but I wasn't settled with where my life was. I knew there was more that I could accomplish. I just didn't have the tools to be able to. And like, I'm sure I could have learned those through life and experience by myself, but through our work, I've accelerated at a pace that is faster than I could have even imagined when I, took the leap of y- to start working together.
Yeah. I love that. This can't be the end. It's like that saying, you didn't come this far just to come this far.
Mhm.
And yeah, do you mind sharing how old you are?
I am 31 years old. I'll
31.
be,
Yeah.
yeah,
And to be told that like your career is somehow halted at 31,
yeah,
it's like, come on.
right.
We're not gonna settle in at 31 and say, well, had a pretty good career. It's over. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
And some
love,
people would be fine with that, and that's okay, but I don't think that's who you're looking to work with. It's people that want to step up to the next level.
yeah, people that want to be part of the 5% club. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about the consult. So, what made you sign up? You had said you had talked to somebody about the pain point from what's happening at work, but then
Hmm.
walk us through what happened.
Yeah. So that friend was like, I think you should really consider talking with my friend Shayla. And, it's no pressure. Just connect with her and see what she has to say. And that's really what I felt through this process is there was no pressure for me to sign up. In fact, I delayed, I think, probably 4 or 5 months between that initial consult and when I actually signed up to work with you because I knew I wasn't in a place to take all of these challenges head on in this kind of transformation that I knew I had to undergo in order to be successful and make it worthwhile for me to invest.
Yeah, and you were going through a lot, right? So you were planning a
Yeah.
wedding, you were getting
Hmm.
married, you had a honeymoon and all of that. So you kind of said,
Yeah.
"Let me get through that and then let's
Hmm.
work on me." And that
Right.
that made a lot of sense. But I appreciate you saying the lack of pressure. I think that's important is I am a one-on-one coach, but my practice is virtually full most of the time, right? So when I open these spots up, we're going to do consult week. I'll have 10 to 20 different calls with people and I only have 2 spots. So I love meeting everyone and helping them on that call even if that's the only time we work together.
Yeah.
And so I do appreciate you saying that. My goal is always to help people have more clarity on what the problem is. And sometimes you get like that doctor's diagnosis of I thought the problem was this, but really it's
Yeah.
this. And then you're like, now I can go work on this myself or I can accelerate it with a coach. And so
Correct.
really there is no pressure because there's very few spots and they're always full. And so I think that's good for people to know too. I'm still happy to help you even if we don't work together.
Totally. Yeah. And with even this podcast coming out, there is tons of tools that you give people each and every week to apply. So such that if they're in a position where they're maybe not ready to financially invest, that amount of money, they can listen to the podcast and stay disciplined and apply their tools week over week.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me, what did you think you were going to get in a consult, and what was it actually like?
Um, Gosh, I kind of went in with no expectations because I've never worked with a coach before. I think I was looking for some validation around how I was feeling, and I definitely left with that validation. It was I kind of walked in with a "Am I crazy?" like mindset, like should I be feeling this way? Um, and that's a lot of the work we do is like a lot of work is not just around my job, it's around life. So we talk through scenarios and situations that have nothing to do with work. They're completely outside of work, but we use tools and frameworks that can be applied everywhere.
Yeah. So you didn't know what you were going to get coming in, but you got validation on the call. What else happened on the call? Can you kind of explain to the audience what is a consult? What does it feel like? What do you talk
Yeah.
about?
I mean, it's very open-ended. So you gave me the floor to talk about kind of whatever I wanted to talk about. And it started with this work issue, but really it was like, how do we make your life better than it's ever been before? You call it the extraordinary life. Um, and how you would help me take those steps to move there. And then something that kind of caught me off guard was how much you emphasized being able to do the uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's a minimum requirement for working with me is that you have to be willing to do the uncomfortable things. So before I let anyone sign up, I really do kind of
Yeah.
make sure they're in on that because this only works if you are. And so what we do over time, and you can elaborate on this, is we build that like muscle of being able to do uncomfortable things. And when you
Mhm.
can do it in one area of your life, you can do it with any area of your life. And when
Yeah.
you are brave and willing to feel the feelings of being rejected or being embarrassed or being sad because something didn't work out, and you're willing to feel those feelings, then you're unstoppable. Right. And so
Yeah.
that's part of what we learned through our coaching time together is how to keep taking bigger and bigger uncomfortable steps to where like it doesn't even matter. You're like, of course I'll try that. Of course I'll do that. And then you're just willing to take more massive action towards your
Mhm.
dream life.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the questions I had asked is, okay, so if I were to sign up with you, what is my time commitment? Because I was nervous about that. Am I going to have to, is this going to be like another job for me?
Yeah.
And really it's not really the time commitment, because it becomes part of your daily routine, your ritual. Um, and it's a lot of inside work too, which, I mean, you got all the time in the world for that, or you should.
Yeah, I love that. So I do think that people are like, oh God, so I'm going to meet with you once a week. And then on top of that, you're going to give me evolve work. Like, is this going to be like I'm going back for my master's and I've got 8 hours of
Yeah.
studying a week? So can you give some examples of like, what is the real evolve work and how much time does it take? Or is it just naturally implemented into your work life or home life?
Yeah. So I think something that you do a really good job of is giving something that's super attainable for the next week. We can come back and say, I had that conversation that I've been avoiding or was difficult, or I took that conflict head on. And so it's something that's either part of your daily life or it's something very small, like the thought work that we do that takes less than 5 minutes, the kind of brain dump to recenter yourself when you're feeling really stressed. Again, that's something that only takes about 5 minutes. Um, and then the ritual work around your physical well-being. You can do a mindful meditation, or you can go for a walk. Like, it's not anything that's earth shattering. um it just becomes part of who you are and what you do.
Who you are and what you do. That is one of my favorite things as we work on that next level of ourself and what we want out of ourself. Because everything we're working towards will feel weird at first and need that practice. And that's why we stay together while you're not just learning it, but while you're starting to implement it. And then when life gets hard and you fall backwards, I'm still right by your side. But by the end of our time together, it does become who you are and what you do. So I love that you brought that piece up. And then for evolve work, yeah, it's the goal is that it's absolutely attainable every week. Now, it might be scary to do, but it's not time consuming. I work with busy executives. I know your time is really valuable, right? And so it's absolutely not about here's your 10 hours of coursework this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of times it's things that you brought up, like I have an issue with my employee or with my CEO or whatever. And so we just practice to have that conversation. And then your evolve work is to go have that conversation. And so it's something you would have needed to do anyways, but you're going to try a different approach with it. And then you get to grow into that next level of yourself by using that new approach. So
Totally. Yep.
awesome. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about when we talked about doing a year together of coaching and you have never worked with a coach before. What were your thoughts? What were you thinking? And when you heard the investment amount too?
um So a year seemed like a long time but, at first, but here we are, 7 months in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I engaged Shayla when I did because of the timing in my life and the skills she was able to give me to move forward and be super impactful as I move forward. Um, and the investment, when I took a step back at my budget, because I think my exact words I said to you is like, I need to move some things around in my budget. And really now it's just like, it's just another expense, right? And the, and I know you don't make guarantees, but I have been able to make back my investment by fourfold almost.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, because everyone's unique. I've never promised it, but every one of the clients I've worked with so far has always gotten what they came for.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And my goal is always that you get your return, not just on the investment that you paid for coaching from a financial return, right? The performance side of it, but also from the happiness side of it.
Yeah.
And so when you
Hmm.
say fourfold, you mean literally your business, your income, you got a new role and your base alone is 4 times your investment.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the happiness side of it. How do you think
Yeah.
about the investment on that side of your life?
I mean, that's probably tenfold. um, because the way we started out was like just working through one, where I, I am as a person, like where my values are, where my what I want to invest in, both from emotional, financial perspective, and really designing our plan around that. And because I've been able to implement that, all of the noise is gone. And there's a lot more clarity about around who I am and what I'm doing. And that just leads to greater happiness because I'm truly doing what I want to do and what fulfills me.
Awesome. And cool thing is, we're going to have a full episode with Ellie where she talks through her transformation and her results. So you'll get to hear more about how she 4 times her income and 10 times her happiness. But for today, just if you'll tell me 2 things. First, did you get something valuable from the consult even before coaching started?
Yeah, definitely. Um, and we dove deeper into it, but that clarity just to say, hey, you are seen and your feelings are valid and you deserve it, right? I had been told quite literally that I didn't. And having someone that is a completely third party validate that for me gave me a level of confidence that I didn't know that I needed, from someone who's been in the game and then has done this before and worked through hurdles not unlike my own.
Yeah, I love it. As a executive coach and a chief people officer, I spent most of my career being in charge of leadership development programs, of hiring the executives, of training the executives. So I do have a really broad view of what's possible from that experience and from working with clients. And so I tell my clients, like, if you don't have the belief yet, that's okay. You can borrow mine because
Yeah.
I know what's possible for you. And you were told you didn't deserve it and it wasn't possible and you should be grateful, and within 6 months, you got more than that, more than what
Hmm.
you were asking for. So clearly, you did deserve it, you earned it, and it was possible.
Yeah.
But when you have limited beliefs around you and people around you that are telling you that it can't happen, it's easy for our inner critic to believe that. So
Yeah.
there's so much power in just surrounding yourself by people that know what the freak is possible in this life. And it's so big. And what is available to you is so huge. Not everyone knows it. And that's why I like talking about the 5% Club, because you get to be around an entire group of people and myself that absolutely knows what's out there for you. And every year, you just get to keep going to the next level and the next level and the next level. And I mean, I personally, I'm just a girl from Kansas. And I've told this story before, but one of my parents thought I should work as like air traffic control at the airport because he heard that paid well. And then my mom said, "Oh my God, I think you're really smart. I think you could totally be like an assistant manager at the grocery store." And these were the dreams that my, hardworking parents from New York and Kansas thought were possible for me. And the world is so much bigger and there's so much more opportunity than what those around us are aware of, even with really good
Totally.
intentions.
Right.
Yeah. So I just love being around people that have made those leaps, have seen it, and know what's possible. So they can be like, oh, yeah, that's easy. We got this. No problem at all. And I think that's what I do for a lot of my clients is they bring these problems that feel monumental. And I'm like, oh, seen that, done that. We got it. Let's go. I'm by your side.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Final question. What would you say to somebody who's nervous to book a consult or thinks that, I don't know if this is the right time?
Yeah. So I would say don't be nervous to book a consult at all. Like I said, there's no pressure in having a conversation. And I think you will gain more out of that conversation than you even thought. I spoke to that. And if you're not ready, uh, stay engaged. Like these spots open up once a year. So if you're not ready at this time next year, maybe you will be. And you already have done kind of those steps. And then you can follow along with the podcast and implement those tools. So you're kind of ahead of the game. When you decide to take the leap and make the investment with Shayla.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Ellie. And we have the podcast available for tools for you. We also have a 5% club wait list. And on that wait list, every week, I give you a lesson you can implement now on your own for free while you're waiting for the next spot to open. And there's two ways to work with me. You either join me for one-on-one executive coaching, which I have very few limited spots for, or you join us in the Performance and Happiness Lab. And that is a 3-month group container where you get to learn the results, relationships, and rituals of a 5%er. So, either way, you can jump on now to the wait list so that you can start learning immediately, and the consult's free. Happy to help you. So I hope that you book below and we are able to help you out. Thank you, Ellie, so much for joining us today, and I can't wait for your full episode.
You are so welcome.
All right. Hello, Carrie, and welcome to the 5% Club podcast.
Hi, Shayla. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to talk today about the consult process. So, can you give everyone a little bit of background on what made you consider even booking a consult? Where were you in your life? What made you want to?
So I've given this some thought, and because the easy thing to say is, I was just really not having any fun. That's not really true. There were gaps in my days, in my world, and the decisions that I was making, and I felt like I needed some outside perspective from somebody that I considered to be an expert at things that I'm not an expert at. And I had the luxury of knowing you from our past lives briefly. Because my asks were not clear, the thing that was clear to me was that you were somebody that had traversed a path that I respected and admired. And even though my path will inevitably be different, you're somebody that I wanted to be part of my journey.
Yeah. I love that because I think that's really important with coaching is it's not at all trying to get more mini-me's and like people that want to do the same thing that I did, but
Right.
rather it's people who want to do something extraordinary with their life, whatever that looks like for them, right?
Yes.
But how do we figure out what you want out of your life and how do we get that? So you said you felt like you didn't have enough happiness, but there was some. And I think that's really important too, because sometimes people think like you go to get coaching because everything feels terrible. And I always talk about how I coach winners, and most people coming to me have a pretty good life. They just want even more. So,
Yes.
can you talk to me about like what was going right and what felt missing?
So for maybe the first time in my adult life, I was in the best relationship I'd ever been in with someone who was supportive in ways that I'd never had support. And on top of that, a lot of my long-term dreams were coming true. I've always wanted to move to Colorado, and we're on the cusp of that. And all of this really good stuff was happening, but I felt um, like I didn't know myself anymore. I felt separated from who I thought I was. And I'd been sitting with that information and processing that for long enough that I was like, you know what? I'm not getting anywhere on my own with this, and it's time for me to get someone who's got the oomph and the toolkit to talk through these things and see if that is a path that I want to travel.
Yeah. So, what were you expecting with a consult?
Um, I feel like every conversation that I have with you, I get far more out of it than I anticipate. So with the consult, I was expecting probably a more structured conversation. Like, okay, I'm Shayla. Here's what I do as Shayla King, the executive life coach. And here are the options. Here's what it's going to cost. What would you like to do? And there was no sales pitch. And the number of times you asked me questions that I had to ponder and think through, like how to answer, because they were questions that nobody had asked me. And I hadn't asked myself, so I didn't know how to answer them. And so it wasn't, it was a working meeting that came with at the end, like, if this is something you want to continue doing, here are the here are the details. So it was,
Yeah. And I think that is such a good point about questions that you haven't pondered. A lot of what I love in a consult is truly getting to know the person and their pain points, what they've tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what they truly want. And a lot of people get stuck on, I don't know what I want. I just don't want to feel like this. Or I don't know what I want. I just want something better. And so I think a lot of people are scared to even schedule the consult because they're thinking, I don't know what to tell them that I want.
right.
And I think some of the beauty of coaching is we get to figure it out together. You don't have
Yes.
to come in like ready. I now have fully declared and know exactly what I want. Now tell me how to get it. I think there's such beauty in that discovery stage of asking powerful questions to help you uncover what you truly want, not what the world wants of you or what you're supposed to want, but what do you want? And what do you want now? It might be different than it was 5 or 10 years ago, which I think was part of the case for you.
Yes. Yes. And I think I assumed that we would focus mostly on my career goals and where I want to take myself with that aspect of my life. But we working together have really uncovered that that's so far down the list of things that I want to work on that we found many other things that have taken priority over that.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to understand is that when we one-on-one coach, it's 100% customized to you and what you need and want. And so you run the agenda, and that's why I'm the performance and happiness coach. I care about your whole life. And so we can spend as much or as little time on career as you want. Most people actually purchase coaching because they want to make more money. They want a
Oh,
promotion. But once they get into it, they're like, wait, this happiness stuff is way
right.
better. And
Right.
so
Yes.
I always joke, I'm like, I can get anyone promoted, but it's you loving your whole life that I care about, right? And so we
Yes.
can do both and at whatever speed people want. So appreciate you bringing that up. Would you had you worked with a coach before me?
Yes, through a corporate coaching program.
So what were some of the differences? Like what made this feel different?
Working with you, one is self-selected. So I chose you, you chose me. We'll call it shopping. The way to find the coach and to find someone who would help with specific things, it was a little more difficult to do. And because because it was corporate, it was more formal and more structured. And so this time around, I knew that traveling that path wasn't what I needed right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know that everybody knows this, but you can look for a coach, and if you find one that you like, you can ask your company to sponsor it. And it doesn't mean that they have a formal program that they say, we're going to provide you with executive coaching. A lot
Right.
of times, coaches get approved by companies because the person goes to their leader and says, I would like this. Will you invest in me? They talk to
Yes.
HR and then they say yes or no. And so I have some fellow coaches that 85% of their practice are company sponsored
Yep.
and still letting the employee select the person, which other
Yes.
companies have programs where they have specific coaches and those are the ones that they coach with. And so you can always ask to get a coach added to that list, which is another
Hmm.
process, right? So having your company sponsored is a real option that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. But
Yes.
with my practice, for some reason, I think I'm attracting people who are ready to invest in themselves. Mine's about 85% personal pay right now. And so I take the executive coaching rates and I actually give half off if you're willing to invest in yourself. And I think that comes from personal experience of being told, like, just keep your head down and do good and good things will happen. And you feel like you're just waiting and waiting. And I'm going to put you in the next round of the leadership development program,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
just
And so
wait,
how many
wait, yeah,
decades do we do that?
right? And like we're
Like,
restructuring it, but you'll be in the next one. I know, yeah. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to bet on myself and I'm
yes.
going to invest in myself. And maybe it will help me in this job in this company, or maybe it will help me in another, but I'm ready. And there's something that I just love about that because people are all in then.
Yep.
I chose this. I'm paying for this. I'm investing in myself and I'm going to show up. And so, one of the things I ask all my clients to do is to do uncomfortable things and to, of course, show up every week, which everybody always does. But it's also to believe in the inevitability of your dreams coming true. I want you to blow your own damn mind with
Yep.
what's possible, right? And
Yep.
that's not just in where we're going with our career, which, although those are usually much bigger than people imagine is possible, but it's also with how happy you can be and how full your life can be and how alive you can feel, right?
Right.
We are
Yes.
not settling. We are going for extraordinary. And that's really the 5% life. So, one of the things that I talk about that I think is a huge benefit of coaching, and I get it when I get coached, is that it's
Mhm.
not reciprocal.
Yeah.
Your time with me is all about you and moving your life forward. And
Hmm.
every single week, we get to talk about how to improve your life, eliminate unnecessary suffering, build your skill set, and build your dream life. And it's
Yes.
just about that.
Yes.
So, how does that feel to have that
It's
kind of support?
it's I feel really good that I reached out and said, Shayla, I see you over there. I see what you're doing, and I think it could be something that I'm interested in because being several months into working with you, and I have goosebumps right now, um, arguably one of the best decisions I've made as a human being ever. Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that makes a girl tear up.
Well, that's not my mission here, but I do what I do. It is significant, the work that we've done together. And I know at one point we did kind of a check-in, and you mentioned that before you sat down with your notes, you thought maybe we weren't getting anywhere. And then you went through your notes and you were like, no, we've done so many important things. We've just done them a little differently than other people might do them. And um, I've sat with that every time, and anytime I'm hard on myself, because of course I'm forever trying to win at everything, and even though I don't admit it very often, but it's good to know that like progress doesn't look the same for everybody or in every instance. But in my case, we have done work together that has exponentially improved the way that I exist. I wake up every day present in my body, and I can't tell you that I've ever done that before in my life. And it's something that I've struggled with tremendously. And one day it just came to me, and I was like, I'm going to try this. And now, instead of being a brain with a body, I am a whole human who can hear her body screaming when it needs to. And even that alone would be worth the investment. And that's just, I've got a whole bag full of instances like that I could go on about.
I appreciate that. And when you talk about results, I care so deeply that my clients are getting results. And so we had this conversation to check in because I always want to make sure here's what we said we were going to do. How are
Hmm.
we tracking against those goals? And with you, we had just kind of flipped the script a little bit on what your goals were.
Hmm.
And so I just wanted to make sure you still felt like you were getting what you came for. And you were
Yeah.
like, oh my God, yes, we're just
I was
doing it in a different
almost
way. And
offended.
you were,
I
you
was,
told me,
I
you were
was
like,
like, what do you mean? Am I getting what I came here for? Have you not been like,
Well, because I care deeply about that. And your journey was a little bit different, but that's the whole point, right? One-on-one coaching is 100% customized to what you need. And so yours was just every week we just talk about a brand new subject and it's an area that you care about that you want to improve. And so if you think about that, if you meet for 50 weeks a year and every week you get something better in your life, I mean, think about how much better you are after a year. And that's why I will always have my brain coached. I will never not have a coach because I want my brain to get better every single week. And that speed of acceleration, how I think about decisions in my life, how I show up in my life, how happy I am is improving every single week. Are there any specific ones that you can think of that might be worth mentioning just to give people an idea of the variety?
Oh gosh. I was in a really mentally unstable and tumultuous place where like decision fatigue was rampant and I had a bad attitude all the time. Like mediocre was a good day for me. And
Yeah.
in the time that we've worked together, I have become the the higher level version of myself that um, I like to be. And as a result of some of that, and not just because I hired you, but also, because I've done a lot of work on myself, my
Mm-hmm.
partner and I got engaged a few months ago.
Yay.
Um,
Congratulations.
and thank you. And afterward, she did mention that a lot of it has been because of the growth that has happened over our relationship because for about a year of it, I was off kilter and not any fun to be around.
Yeah, and I think it was just you let the doom loop happen, right? And so when you think about what's wrong with the world holistically, or you think about what's wrong with your job, or just like let little things bother you all the time, and you have that cycle in your brain, it's easy for everything to just feel heavy and ugh. But we've rewired your brain, right? You can now cultivate your own feelings and your own emotions and your own energy.
Yes.
And learning how to do that let you, hard things are easier and faster for you now. We talk about don't sweat the pee shit, this lovely line I got from Mr. Mike King.
I love it.
And and so we talked about like things that are stressful and annoying don't have to be a big deal. Like let's just get them off our radar. Let's just do them. Let's just go through it. And so you've been able to process annoying things differently, I think, and
Yeah.
not had to feel like you have the weight of the world on you for things that are completely out of your control.
Yes.
Right. And so instead, it's like, even if things are wrong in parts of the world, it doesn't mean I can't be happy today. And the best way that I can impact this world is by sharing joy.
Yes. And
So
being
tell me a
present
little bit
in
about,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So tell me a little bit about, we've talked about, and I want to get back to the consult real quick, but we've talked about therapy versus coaching, and I know you've
Mhm.
done both. So when you think about this journey, and you just said in the past, we've been working together, what, 7 months now? Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that you've changed how you feel as a human and you feel so much lighter and happier.
Mhm.
How does that happen when it's not therapy?
Oh gosh. The scientist in me really wants to give you an answer that isn't
This is Dr. Carrie Strange, by the way, if you didn't know. She does have doctorates. So,
the researcher scientist in me wants to have a really solid answer telling you why this happens. Um, Therapy is designed to target basically illnesses. We'll call them illnesses, although not everything that therapy works through is considered a formal
and
illness.
don't worry,
But
you're not speaking for the industry, just for your.
I don't know a lot of people who have done both coaching and therapy, but in my experience, working with you, who is someone that I selected, I did the research, and I also like I looked at your website and all of your pictures, and I'm like, Shayla's living her best life. She looks great. She's polished. This website. If I were a coach, this is how I would want to present myself. So this is the kind of person I want to work with. It's a level up from therapy for me because I don't have to carry the weight of some of that neurodivergence into our conversations. In fact, there have been times where you've said, that sounds like an excuse to me, Carrie. And I'm like, oh, have I been
Maybe we should talk about how I say the hard things sometimes.
exactly, exactly. And I think in therapy, that does exist, but it's often shame-based. And or the response is, seems like you could think about that some more. While therapy is a critical part of maintaining a healthy uh, existence for me, adding coaching has enabled me to take all of those skills that I've um, gathered into my bucket over the years and amplified them because I'm getting another perspective, and especially from someone who isn't reading out of the DSM-5 to tell me what's wrong with me, but rather you're like, there's nothing wrong with you. How do you want to live? They,
Yeah, how much choice you have in it. That's where everything that I do is to empower you.
yeah.
So I think I really appreciate that. And I think just to clarify, I don't think anything's wrong with therapy. I think it has a perfect place for people.
Mhm.
Think it's interesting to hear how they can work concurrently together.
Yeah.
So for me, if I ever have somebody saying, I don't know if I should be in therapy or get coaching for this, the way I kind of think about it is therapy is a lot of backwards things. So if we need to go through big events that happened in your past and trauma, PTSD, if there's issues with depression or anxiety, those are great for therapy. That's where
Mhm.
therapy can really help. For coaching, we look at things and we move them forward. So I don't actually have to understand why things are the way they are. We just have to decide if we want to change them. And if we do, we can do that in an instant with a new thought. And so
Yes.
we have tools to be able to change it without having to go into all the reflection and reliving everything. And I've been in therapy myself for PTSD. So, like, I understand the value of that, but that's not the only way. And so, if you're trying to move forward in your life, coaching is a great tool for that. My goal is only to help you improve. And that does mean sometimes saying difficult things. And so I had another person tell me that on the consult alone, they got more real feedback from me than their supervisor over 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly like not to distill or dumb down your operation, Shayla, but I uh, thank you for performing in that way because that's how I level up. If somebody's saying the things to me that maybe I don't want to hear, and there's a lot of really good reinforcement that happens as well. But the times where you've shown up for me in that way and done what I'm sure felt uncomfortable for you has been severely altering for me in such a positive way. It is the thing that pushes us forward. And I'm glad that um, you summarized that so well because I had a story and then you explained it, and I think they work really well in tandem to kind of show that difference. And yes, for me, both seem to be requirements.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, perfect. Let's wind up consult stuff. So, was there anything that stood out to you about the consult itself?
I think for me, the biggest thing was when it was done, I was ready for the next one, was ready for the next session. And I know a consult can be intimidating. Sometimes it's hard to reach out and get it scheduled. And there's always that risk that you'll walk away from it having wasted an hour of your life. And I, not for one second, had that. There's been a lot of other times where I have. And as our consult concluded, I was like, okay, well, I need more of these sessions. So
Yeah.
let's make it happen.
Perfect. Yeah, and you mentioned about no sales pitch, so I always just like to explain. I have a full coaching practice. So whenever spots open, I'll do a consult week once or twice a year. And so I will have 10 to 20 conversations probably, and I only have two spots. So no pressure. If it makes sense after our conversation and you're interested, I'll share what it looks like to work together. If it doesn't make sense, then I hope you get a ton of value just from the hour that we have together. And I won't have room for everybody. And so we will, might have to put you on a wait list or talk about the performance and happiness lab, but definitely no pressure pressure at all. I'm going to have a full practice either way with amazing clients. And so if it makes sense for us, love to work together with people, but I don't want anybody to think they're going to get like a hard sell. That's
No.
just not me.
Yeah, and I think from a sales perspective, it's clear that you love what you're doing. You're showing up as a very different Shayla than the Shayla I had brief encounters with, a couple of decades ago. And your the way you've crafted your business and deliver your ideas and this whole framework sells itself, so you don't have to be thirsty. You deserve to make money. You deserve to have everything that you want. Um, but you don't have to beg for it either.
Yeah. And I teach all my clients the same, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So sufficiency and knowing that everything is okay and that you are safe and you are okay and you can want for more without needing any of it. We take out all
Yes.
desperation. And that happens the same thing for my clients when they're trying to look for a job and how you show up, even how you write your resume, how you write something for LinkedIn, how you show up for those interviews. It's all different if you feel sufficient and know that everything is okay,
Yeah.
right? Versus that thirsty desperation you were mentioning. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Did you get something valuable from the consult itself, even before coaching started?
Yeah. At that time, I was in the middle of some job transition change for my whole team, actually, and was making some big decisions. And just our consult alone helped iron out some of the wrinkles for that. And that's the biggest thing that comes to mind where, we didn't solve world hunger in our consult, but I felt more inspired and more motivated than I had in months.
Awesome. Awesome. And then what would you say to someone who's nervous or to book or thinks that they have to be ready first?
Oh, if you're ready, you're already too far behind. So just do it. If you want to see what Shayla can bring to your world, even if it doesn't work out, book an hour with her because figuring that out and not wondering about it is magic in its own. But in the event that she is somebody that you want to work with, you can't work with her if you don't book.
Perfect. And I love that you said if you're already ready, you're behind because I think there's so much magic in a coach helping you figure out what you want and what the steps are and getting that clarity. And so many people are like, I got to wait until I know, until I have all my ducks in a row, until my finances are right or my kids are graduated or this or that, and have all of these reasons why their brain is telling them to wait.
Yeah. And I can tell you,
And what
our finances were not ironed out. None of it, we figured it out. We moved some stuff around, made different choices, have made different choices because the priority for us was for us to be able to afford financially and time wise. I had the time, mostly had the money, but what I really wanted to do was invest entirely in our time together, to work together, to make the most of it, so that investment didn't go to waste for anybody. And so if I had waited until I had the money just ready to go, I think I would have suffered tremendously for that.
That's interesting because a lot of what we do is reduce emotional pain, right? And we stop all of the unnecessary pain and we work
Hmm.
to make people happier. And I think sometimes it's hard, especially for women, to feel like they have a right to invest in themselves. And it feels like such an easier, cleaner decision to remodel my kitchen or move to a new house or upgrade my car or put my kid in private school or whatever. But the idea of spending a significant amount of money investing in themselves and their brain can feel selfish.
I was almost my own version of waiting too long to
Hmm.
to sign up. But I think there's always a way to figure out how to pay for what you want. And so when you start valuing yourself, everything around you is going to come up with you. So while I haven't changed jobs, my partner is hopefully will know this week. potentially getting a job that will double her salary.
How does that relate to your coaching investment?
We used one of my sessions to help her get prepared but it was a dual session because I took really good notes and it was good.
So this was a little bit unplanned, but Carrie and I were on the phone and she's telling me that Olivia has this job interview the next day and how they were excited about it. I said, well, bring her on. What's more important in your life right now than this? Because my goal is always to help my client get everything they want out of life. And I knew how important this was to Carrie. So we hijacked her session and spent an hour on how to prepare for an interview. And like Carrie said, she took a lot of notes too, because it can help you. A lot of what we do helps you not only in one area of your life, but it can be so applicable to other areas as well. But I've just been following each step of the way and getting updates and giving little tidbits for each new step of the process. And really excited because it will help get not only her partner her dream job, but also Carrie's dream lifestyle in Colorado,
Hmm.
which
Yep,
is amazing. And that's our goal, is to get you everything that you want.
exactly. Yep. And then from there, like I have to come up with new dreams and goals, which
Yes.
I've already done some of that, but it dreaming even bigger and deciding, the next big things that we want.
That's what I love, because once you build the skill set of being able to go after and get what you want, being resilient and being able to say, okay, that didn't work. How about this? Being able to
Yes.
fail without shame, all of that, that is a skill set for life. And you can apply it in any area you want. And so you were
Yes.
mentioning earlier about, do you invest in something personal or do you invest in yourself? And those skill sets that Carrie talked about learning for happiness as well, they stay with her for the rest of her life.
Right.
A
Like your kitchen,
bathroom remodel doesn't.
right. I mean,
A
hopefully
trip
all of your
doesn't.
fixtures still work and everything, but spending our resources on coaching as opposed to material things means that those material things, yeah, I can have those anytime I want. Am I putting it off? Maybe. But I've leveled up my life in so many other ways that those types of tangibilities don't matter anymore. Like these investments in myself are so significant, they aren't even they don't register on the same scale.
I love it. Any parting
Right?
thoughts on consults?
Do it.
I love it.
Just
All
do
right.
it.
Thank you, Carrie. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. You heard from Carrie and Ellie, and now you've got a little bit more of an inside peek into what a consult is like. But listen, if you've listened this far, you clearly are ready. There is nothing to lose. It's a free hour of your time where you're going to leave with an insight and some direction. So if you are on the fence, get on the call with me. Let me help you for that 1 hour, and then we can decide if it makes sense to work together or not. This is the last time this year that I'm adding new one-on-one clients. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been thinking about it, join now. I hope to see you in there. You can get the links at shaylaking.com. That's SHAYLAKING.com. And you can get booked now. Let's go. I will talk to you this week. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to make more, work less, and design a life you love, then go to shaylaking.com and join the waitlist. You'll be the first to know when there's openings to work with me in one-on-one coaching or the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group container where you will learn to be a high-performing, highly paid executive who loves your whole life. I'll see you there.